Hello again, and welcome to MATTO'S Box Mania Outbuild Board Game Box Episode 11. Cutting up the old box and sticking it onto the new lid. This is going to be a long video. I'll pause it at times, but this is a really important part of the box making. This is the worst part of the box making. This is the most stressy. I hate this bit. This bit is always, when you finish this bit, it's such a relief. This is where we cut up the old box and we stick it on the new box. Some boxes are easier than others to do. This one's a pig. It's always a pig when you're doing a big size reduction. That's when you get in trouble. If you know, it's not easy, this, and you know, cutting up the old game box seems pretty harsh thing to do. But I do it. But you know, my game boxes get trashed at home because my house is, you know, I live in the country and that, and the boxes get trashed anyway, so they're not going to hold value being an original. But who cares about them holding value anyway? But the original, you know, the original boxes are nice. But you know, what other options are there? Go and spend some money, get something printed out. I've done that in the past with some, and they're never as nice as the original boxes. You know, they don't look as nice. They fade. You know, this, unless you get something really good quality. Yeah, you could do that if you know, money's no bother, and time and money. You could get all of this photocopied and printed out, get it to the size. Lovely, fine. I cut up the old boxes. Right. This is really stressy. So I'm just going to get straight on in and do it. I know already, I talked about it earlier in something like episode 3 or 4 when we were working it all out, about how I was going to use things. Well, before I cut it up, let's just have a brief overview. I'm going to take my time on this one. It's going to be a long video. Sorry. So I made a frame to the size of the lid, but 3mm smaller all round. Right, and I've decided that that's probably how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make do with some dodgy bits where these go off the top. That's dodgy. This half of the Z-Man thing, that's dodgy. I don't know. I might. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. And then, you know, I can't get these bits in here of the expansions because it's cutting off all the lettering. So I'm just going to have to move it across to cut out some of those. That's not too bad. 3 little dodgy bits. I can live with that. You're losing the border, which is always a shame, because the border is what makes, you know, it's what frames it. It's what makes it look nice. But when we stick this on the box, the blackness will give it a border of some description, so we can kind of live up to that. So I can kind of see, right, I'm looking at this, and I'm going to be going along the inside of that border, and I'll end up, you know, I'll go over this again after I've cut it, but I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. I'll turn the camera off at some point when I get to it and give some thought to this, because when I did my escaped box, which is this one, if you haven't seen it, I've got a video where I go through my escape box. That took me like 6 hours to do this. 6 hours, because I would take it slow and I'd work it out. It takes hours. It's 8:30 now in the evening. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to 1 o'clock doing this, but I'll pause out all the boring bits. So that's one thing I've got there, that frame. Now, I cut another frame here, which I didn't have in the last video, and this is probably off the camera. Right, I cut a frame for the sides. Right, And I was always worried about getting this lettering on. It's not going to look great. The sides are always the worst bit. The sides are so difficult, and so many times I've thought of just doing my own lettering for the sides and drawing it out myself, but it won't look the same. So I'm doing this and I'm thinking, right, I've got some dodgy bits where bits are getting cut off, these frilly twirls, but I've worked out a bit of a solution for those. I think I can actually pen them out with a blue pen. It's a bit random what I've done, but I'll talk about that later when I come to it. And then probably what I'm thinking is, because that's the whole length, I'm getting this bit of Z in there. If I wanted to cut that out, you know, maybe I'd try and, you know, at the same time I'm trying to centre the lettering so it's in the middle this way, you know, so it's not like sitting on the bottom and it's not sitting on the top. It's kind of, which is awkward, because if I want to get it dead in the middle, I might be picking up the very tops of these symbols. But because I'm going to chamfer all of these pieces, that might not matter. I might be able to rub that off. But at the same time, if I'm doing that again, I'm cutting halfway through this 90 minutes thing. There's an awful lot to think about. So what I would probably do, and I'll worry about it when I cut it up and I'll make my final decisions, is I'll probably end up cutting here somewhere and sticking that on, and then maybe using a bit of this, probably the number of players and the time, or I'll use the Z-Man game ones, the Z-Man game bit, because, you know, this is that's going to get cut off to there, and I'll probably add that on as a secondary bit in order to fill up the rest of that space. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. It's always very stressy, because you've only got one chance. Once you cut this box, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. There's nothing to be done. Once you do that, you've only got one chance. And I know this isn't going to look the best, unfortunately. This one, I think, will be a lot better, because it's smaller, so I can actually get all of that stuff on. I mean, it's not going to be as long as this one, obviously, but in terms of the lettering, I can get all the lettering on, and I can probably get, well, this is out of shot, isn't it? I can probably get all that lettering on. I mean, you know, I'd have to work it out, because this is the length, not the width, and, you know, we just have to work it out. You know, it's impossible. It's impossible to be. You see, this is the problem with it. It's you know, unless you find some real half-assed, not half-assed, but some real complicated way. I mean, that's complicated enough. You know, to do it, you can't be sure of what, you know, you're doing, really. If you want to measure everything, really work it all out before you cut it and do it, then fair play to you. But I don't do that. I kind of do it on the cuff. I think, right, that bit's going to probably fit, and then if I cut here, and I might be able to get that bit in. And sometimes, because I do it like that, I make the wrong decisions. And sometimes when I've done it afterwards, I think, damn, I wish I'd done that. I had that on the escape box. There was a bit where I thought, damn, I wish I thought of doing it like this before I actually did it. So we're going to cut this box, because I'm just going to go for it. Got a new blade. Now, what I'll do, I'll say what I'll do before I do it. I'm going to slice down these inside joints here. Right. Now, I'm not going to, after I've done that, I'm not going to push these things flat in order to cut them off, because I want to cut the sides off the lid. I'm not going to cut the flat, because if you then pull this flat, what happens is, along this edge here, this little bit bubbles up, and you end up wasting, because it all gets crinkled, you end up wasting a little bit of this, of the height. So you have to be a little bit careful. So now I would just generally cut that by eye, but I'm just thinking, can I do it like this by putting my ruler in and getting my, sorry, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it by eye and feel. It's very nerve-wracking. I'm cutting the box, man. Can you believe it? And really, I shouldn't be talking because that's going to make me make a mistake. And if I make a mistake on this, because I'm recording this video, I'm going to be gutted. One chance. As Eminem says, you've got one chance. You've got one chance. It's very stressy. But I don't know, I have these thoughts. I really don't want to jinx it, because I always jinx them, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to make an effort not to jinx it. Is sometimes when you're doing stuff like this, if you make a mistake, I find sometimes it's good that you made that mistake, because it opens up. You then have to be creative and you work and you think of some solution that you wouldn't have thought of before. But I don't want to make a mistake. Right, so I've done that. So I don't want to push these down flat, particularly. So what I'm going to do, I want to get one of these things off first. And this probably isn't the best way to do it, because it's I can't remember how I did it on the last one. Right, so what I'm going to do, and you're not going to be able to see me do this, I'm going to put my ruler up against there, I'm going to score down there, and then move my ruler down here and score down there, just to get this end run off. And then once I've done that, I can get the ruler into the sides. So I'm being careful not to fluff it. Doesn't mean that I haven't fluffed it. I went completely off the line. I've gone offline by 2 millimeters. What a bum head. What a bum head. Just 'cause I'm talking. Oh, I've gone off again. That's really tough. It's really stressy. It's alright. Got away with it. Oh, I hate doing this bit so much. It's the worst bit of the whole thing. Doesn't matter about the rest. You know, if you make a mistake on the rest of the box, you can just make another box. You can't with this. So I just find it really stressful. But, geez, it's not that bad. No point getting stressed about it, isn't it? Stay away. Stay out there. Stress out. Right, that hasn't come out too bad. So, there we go. I'll bend it flat, it's a bit dished. Right, let's just do this basic top first, and say I might do more work on it. So now, this is important. Are we still videoing? Right, let me just check that this is right. Because imagine if I was way out on this. You see, I'm not quite sure really how right that is. So what I'm going to do, let's get this, I'm going to put this here so I can measure my glasses. I haven't worn these since for 2 days. Only when I do stuff like this I need them. I'm dusty. Right, put this on. This is saying this is 28. Yeah, I'll just check that with my plan that we did. .28. The external dimensions of the lid, 28. Bang on. Absolutely bang on. That's nice to know. And I'll do the same here, and I imagine, well, I did make a muck up on this, so I might have lost a mil there. You see? Right, there's my mistake. This is really interesting. Right, so that should be 39.2, like it was on the drawing. And it's 39.1. Now, a millimetre, what does it matter? But I think that's why it's so tight. It's because I've lost a millimetre in that mistake I made. Because when you saw, I don't know if you watched me on the bit where I made the lid, it was where on the one I wasn't talking, I just did it. And there was a cut I forgot to do on the length of this lid. And I had to do it after I'd kind of half built the whole thing, and I had to take it all apart and kind of cut it when it was a double thickness. And I reckon that I've made a millimetre error in that, just in that mistake. And I think that's why this is so tight. So that's a difficult thing, you know, because I could then make another box and worrying about the tightness, and I could add that millimetre because I think it's too tight. And suddenly, because I've done it correctly, it's now way too big, because if I'd done this correctly, maybe it wouldn't be so tight. I've lost a millimetre. And I might have even lost 2, you know. See, I think I've lost 2 millimetres. I don't know. Anyway, you know, it just it drives you insane, all this stuff. So I think the next box I'll make with the same tolerances and actually remember to cut it better, because I think I've lost almost 2 millimetres on that length as to what it should be. And I think that's why I'm having all this trouble with it being tight. And that makes me think this is gonna be tight for a long time. Anyway, difficult, isn't it? I'm teaching you how to make a box, and I'm just making mistakes. It's not great, is it? So, 28. So now what I want is like 3 millimetres around the whole edges. So I'm looking for 27.4. That's 27.45. That's close enough. And then I'm looking for, because that's 39. I'm looking for 38.4 on this side. And the tripod's getting in the way of my ruler, it's really annoying. Right, so I've got 38.6 here, you see, because I've actually got 2 millimetres. This thing should be 2 millimetres less, which is a bit awkward. So what I should do, and this is really fussy, but the reason I'm going to do this is because it's very tight as to what I'm cutting. Everything's so close. I'm actually, no, I've got 2 millimetres too much, haven't I? Can I take 2 millimetres off? Oh, sod it. I'm not going to get that fussy. We're just going to, I'm just going to cut this, and then I might just sort of slim it down as I go. Right, so first thing I'm going to do, I know that I want to be on this border, or do I? No, yeah, I can't have any border. If I go on to having any border, that's ridiculous, and then that's going to look really crap. So I need to get rid of the borders all around. So let's start to get rid of this border. Put the ruler in the middle, about halfway. Right, I'm going to go, I'm going to do that and get rid of all that black. We just have to see, won't we? It's very nerve-wracking doing this. We've only got one chance. Out. Right, so already you can see it looks a bit crap. Look, with that cut off, it will look slightly better when I chamfer it. But there's not a lot I can do about that. I don't know. I'm resigned to the fact that I'm going to make this look a little bit poor. I'm resigned to it. So now I'm doing this one first because it's annoying, so I can't see through this ruler. You can see how difficult this is. Maybe I should just turn this off and just cut it out and say, yep, done that, and that's what you do, and save you all this stress. So now I know I've got all these little bits here. I don't know if you can see them there. You know, all these little bits of symbols sticking out. I can get rid of most of those on my chamfer, but I don't want to go too close because I don't want to lose any of these stuff. And now I've got, I've got Zmar down there, which I don't really like. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little pencil mark in here and a little pencil mark down here where this frame is if I don't move it. It's really I should make a card frame because this paper frame's a bit delicate. Put that up there, let's see if this is square. Now if I do this box and it looks really bad at the end, don't laugh at me. Understand what I've gone through in order to make it. Right, I'm going to cut that down there because that's the only option I've got really. God, this is tense, nervous headache. I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it. Can't believe I'm doing this. And what I'm going to do, really long enough? Yeah. I'm going to cut off this border. Now I might find that I have to cut an extra little bit off it because somehow I've got at least 2 millimeters. But maybe I'll do it to the square again. It's a bit awkward to kind of cut that. It's not a good idea to sort of cut like this really because you go off the line because you're not in a very comfortable position. Printer. Should have gone to the printer. It just never looks so nice on the printer. It really doesn't. Really doesn't. Right. Now, so I'm going right up to these where the bottom of that Z-Man stuff is. So maybe I might actually, rather than, I need to, if I had a card one of those frames, that'd be easier. But what I'm going to do, I know it's going right down onto that, so that's 27.7. do. And I'll measure here, and I'll measure 27. 5, 6, 7. Do my little dot with the thing around it. Right. I'll just go for that. Now, so often when I do this, I feel myself, I'm praying, I'm just, you know, I'm not confident at all that I'm going to get a good result. Not at all. I'm just praying everything's going to work out. You know, I know that to some degree I can get those bits at the side, but I don't know for sure, and I don't know what it's going to look like. But at least I'm getting most of that picture in. I thought originally when I was going to do this, I wasn't going to get hardly any of it, and you know, and I didn't know what to do. Right, now you can see, I need to take a little bit more off. It's too close to the sides. So, because I want to get a bit of a frame around it. So let's deal with this width first. Now, okay, I'm going to do my own technique here. Get one of them and push that up. After if I take 2mm off. Let's just take 2mm off there. 2mm off. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, this is more important. Getting this right is more important than doing it right for you, it right for me. Okay, so I took 2mm off there. Let's have a look at another look at that. Still pretty close. Ideally, I want to. Right, now if I take right, what I'm going to do, because I don't want to rush it, I'm going to pause this and then I'll come back and I will have done it, but I'll tell you what I did. You can see, you know, the problem is I'm a bit tight, so I'm having to lose some spaces somewhere, but I don't want you to just see me thinking. Right, I think I've done that for now. It's not finished. It doesn't look very good. It looks awful. It doesn't look awful, but it doesn't look very good. But once I've done a few more things to it, it'll look better. But let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at the problems and what I can do about it. Now, these things, when you chamfer the edges, they'll look a lot better. That kind of frames it. It looks a lot nicer and looks more professional. And when you get the sides on, it will look better. It always looks a bit weird when it's just like that, but when you get the sides on, it brings it into a hole. Now let's look at this. The four things that shout at me originally straight away is this. This is crap. If that wasn't there, that'd look alright. This is a bit annoying. This Z-Man thing, you know, I don't know if anyone noticed it, but it's still a bit annoying. And then this, you know, you can see that it's obvious that these have been cut, because any graphic designer would knock these in a bit, you know, they're right up to the edge. No, you know, no one's going to do a layout like that. But it's not too bad. Now, what I would normally do maybe is I would normally chamfer these and glue it on before I do the sides, but I'm not going to do that because, again, I don't know about this. There's not a lot I can do about that. I don't know about this, but I might be able to do something about this Z-Man thing. I might find that I can use one of these Z-Man things, I might find that I could actually cut a little square out and put this in, and that might look alright. And what that might do is that just might ever so subtly, it takes away from the fact that it's been cut out. It just breaks it up. That's one thing. The other thing is this D, and what I'm going to do is once I've chamfered it, then I'm going to black out the edge of the letter so it looks as if the letter finishes. You know, you'll see what I mean when I'm done, but I reckon I can adjust that with a pen and make that one look a bit better, so it doesn't look as if it's going to go off the end. And to be honest, that's the worst one. And there's not a lot I can do about it. And there's really not a lot I can do about it. Sometimes you just got to live with it. But I suppose what I'll do is I'll end up doing it, you know, before I glue it on, I'll chamfer it and get it all prepared and then come back to reevaluate it. Okay, so we'll put that to one side, we'll come back to that. Now, shall I do the ends? Or shall I do... I'll do the ends first. Think about the ends. Got the damage on the inside. So, now I'm reasonably sure, as I said before, well, let's do this down here. Now, what I should do is I should measure what this is, but I know what this is. This is 28, isn't it? It's a little bit less than 28 now, but you know, this is where I find out how inaccurate my boxing I know. It's 28. You see, that's why it's always a good idea when you measure. I don't know if you can see, when you measure things, put a block and butt your ruler up to it, because you can be out by 2mm easily. So 28. So let's think about what are we talking. So yeah, somewhere around 27.4 or something like that is where the edge of this is going to go. It's like this. So it's going to fall off the table now. Let's move it all on a bit. So that's about where it's going to go. Can you see that? Just about. It's not great. It's very hard to do this so you can see. So it's coming up to where this Z is. Now, normally, there's so much to this, I'm telling you. Now, I think the box looks best when you have this on, you have your top bit on, and all the bits on the side are exactly the same length. That's when it looks the best, but sometimes you just can't do that. So actually, this might be a better way to measure. So if I go, right, it's messy at this end, and I go in here right up. So I think, looking like that, if I go right to the edge here, I'm just getting a little bit coming over on this Z. I can take some of that off because the chamfer, I don't mind if a bit of it pokes out, I can get rid of it chamfer. So that's one option I can do. Well, the other option I could do is I could cut it to here. I could cut to here, and then I could cut this piece out and separate it away somewhat. Like what I've done here. where I've cut this and then I've put there's a bit of a gap and then that to bring it up. And I think that's what I might do actually, because if I do that then I'll be able to bring it to be the same width as this, and it means I'll be able to use potentially one of these Z-Man things potentially down here on this thing. Right, I'm going to pause it and have a think. Right, I'm back. Now, what I've decided to do is I'm going to cut out the El Grande to here and have part of this, I don't know what, or maybe even the Z-Man if it fits in there, added on to the end. But the first thing I want to do is cut out this. Now, you can see the end here is completely unsquare and it's a bit of a flappy old end, so I want to get a good end on that. Now, I know that that's the end I cut from the box. That's rough as anything. This is the original. I'm going to use that as my straight edge. That's the thing I'm going to rely on. Put that up against there. Yeah, this is why, you can see why I have this thing. It's brilliant. Right, and I'm just going to cut off the roughness that I have there and try and cut it off. There's a bit of a weird blue line down here, so I'm going to try and cut off the minimum I can while still trying to keep it good. That's my knife. We're just going to go there. Oh, so now I blew and moved it. What an idiot. I'm always saying that. I'm always calling myself an idiot and I really shouldn't. Right, let's try that. One chance. If this is wrong, I really hope I don't make a glaring mistake. It's quite possible. Okay. Now that's okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back on like this, so it's right up to the edge. Right, and get that kind of centered, sort of. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out, maybe I'll use a bit of angle line. I'm going to move this back and forth. You won't be able to see what I'm doing, or maybe I'll use this, you might. So I can get the same spacing. See, I'm a letterer, right? I'd be mad for lettering spacing. I want to get the same spacing on this side as I have on this side for it to look right. But if I actually, now you see, I'm thinking on the go here, if I actually brought it in quite tight, because I think it will look nice with the Z-Man. I like having the game company on the box. And, you know, so I'm looking altogether sort of at something about, it's about 27.4, isn't it? 27.3 or 4 is what I'm looking. So now if I brought this up tight, so it looked like something like that. I'm just thinking off the cuff here, you can see what I'm doing. 23.2, so that's giving me about a 4 centimetre thing. That Z-Man, it's just over 4 centimetres. It's really tight. Oh, it would look nice with that Z-Man games on it, wouldn't it? 4, but I have to leave a little bit extra around it, otherwise it looks stupid. 4.3. 4.3, so that means I'm looking at 4.3, and you know, really I want this at 23, a tad under 23. So I'm just going to mark just very roughly on this frame. It's going to be very, very, very tight. This is what you've got to do, you see. This is really what you've got to do at the end of the day. It's all this nonsense. It's what it is, it's just nonsense. And this frame is just ridiculous. I reckon I could get that in. How does that look? Now, let's just have a look at this. Is that Z-Man any bigger or smaller? And that's the same size. Sometimes you see that letter's bigger than that letter. Sometimes on the boxes. And on the bottom of the boxes you can find different bits. I don't think there's anything on that. This one's got, you know, I've said this before, this one's got adverts on the side, but sometimes some boxes have the game name printed on the sides, like Queen Games, and I really like that. I don't think there's anything I can use on the bottom there, so I'm stuck with what I'm doing. So this is a really hard decision because I'm dealing in a millimetre or two, and this is real tough. This is a really tough decision. I'm going to pause it so you don't watch me just thinking it's boring. Right, so I come to a part of it. I'll explain my thinking. Now I'm not sure what the Z-Man thing's going to look like, you know, because if I put that on there, it's going to be tight to the N there and tight to the Z on this side. What does that look like? I'm not sure. And then the other things that I can use is I can use these, you know, in some description. I don't quite know how, but could it be possible to use these figures? I don't think I'll be able to see. I don't think I can get all three and two. I don't know. I might be able to get two of them. It's a bit weird. And then I've also got these things that I could, if I had to, add something on. But whatever happens, this isn't going to fit on nicely. So whatever happens, this El Grande is going to be separate, as a separate piece. I'm going to do it in two pieces in whatever form I can get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into my frame like this, and I'm just going to work out my distance away so it looks kind of nice. Somewhere like that. I already have a pencil mark there, don't I? Right, and I'm going to cut it there, because sometimes it's just easier to work around cutting bits out. I'm just going to check to see whether how straight this is to how straight the line of these letterings is to the bottom. And it's very hard with lettering. You see that looks a little bit on the pitch of 5. A millimetre or two difference there. It's difficult when you've got pointy bits. Pointy bits would stick out below a line. So it's difficult. This is, you know, this is all difficult as well because you're thinking, how is it all gone on square on the box in the first place? It's bloody awkward. So I'm going to just think about this by I'm just going to cut that square first. I just hope. I'm praying. Hope and pray, mate. Hope and pray. Now, where's my dot? It's kind of there. Let's just cut it there. So, you know, there's stress involved. I haven't put anything on the box yet. But you can see the processes that I'm going through. And the reason I'm going to make this video so long is just to help you so you can see. You know, maybe it helps you make these decisions. Maybe it doesn't. Now, I want to try and get that. That's going to be quite close to there. How does that, as close as that seem to parallel to the bottom, I think. Yeah, it's very hard to get it dead right. Let's just go this is my safe edge. That's the edge I've got to measure things from. That's almost where I want it. This awkward bit of layering to deal with. Right, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to put a dot in there on one side. This is where it all comes down to. You've got one chance. If I haven't got this lined up, it's kind of a bit of a bugger really. So I've got that at 3.45 from the bottom, and I'll go here. I'm going to half millimeters here. Let's just check now. It's 3.45, and I'm not making a mistake. 3.45. 3.45. Half a millimeter. So I'll offer the ruler up to that. See what it looks like. I can see my dot. It's very hard to see my dot on the blue. Does that look? It doesn't look too bad. Does it really look parallel to the bottom? Yeah. I'm gonna go for it. Am I stupid? Solid. I'll just go for it. If this edge is dodgy, I'll just do the other end a bit better. .45. Then that's the height. The height is 5.8, so I'm looking at 5.2 and 5.2 height. So I'm just going to measure 5.2. 5.1, 5.2. I'm going to put a dot in there. 5.2 here. I'm just going to make sure that this is 5.2. It's actually 5.91 I've done there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my dots, and I'm just going to, instead of cutting the dot in half, I'm just going to not cut the dot in half, and I'm just doing this by eye, which is just a really crazy idea. That doesn't look right. Let's do it. A Grande big box, that's not too bad. Now, I have worked out, and I worked this out earlier. You can see that this is going off the edge. It's a bit not very nice. I'm going to chamfer this and it'll look like it's going off the edge, like on the main picture. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a black line in there to make it look like that is ending. And I'm pretty sure I can. I haven't got the right colour blue to mask this colour to be able to clear off a bit, which is what I'm going to have to be doing on the big sides. But I have worked out maybe a way to do it. I'll show you when I do that. I'm just thinking aloud. I've got to think aloud because I'm getting so stressed. Right. Let's have a look at what this is looking like. It's actually not looking too bad, that. Now, what have we got left on the end now? How long has this video been going on for? I bet it's been going on for about an hour. I've got no way to tell. 50 minutes already. Jesus. Right, 4 centimetres. That's tough. That's really tough. That's so tight on my Z-Man plan. But I have got the I have got the option, I can take a little bit off this side, a little bit off this side if I need, so I have got some more to chop, which I've purposefully already considered, if you believe me, but it's true. Now, I've got 4 centimetres. This is a bugger. This is such a bugger. Right. I'm going to pause it, sorry. Right. What are you thinking? 10 minutes. 15 minutes. I'm not sure of a solution. I think I'm going to try this. It's going to be tight by cutting that out. I can't, there's nothing else I can use. That I could use. Not sure. That I could use, I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, that's my default. If I can't find anything else, I could do that. Which isn't the best, because I do want something to come in here. But if I can't find anything, or if I make a mistake or screw something up, I could do that. Which isn't too bad. But the reason that I'm not cutting this out and trying something else yet is because I'm going to have a go at trying to do this, and I might find, after I've been trying to do this side, there might be some piece I can use, because I think the Z-Man thing's the same size, but this is a different size, and maybe something might work out. I don't think it will, but you never know. So you absolutely never know. So again, I'm not committing myself, because you only got one chance. I'm not committing myself until you've got to commit yourself. So I'll spend some time thinking about this now, and it's all the same things that I did before. I've got this at my full length, so I'm going to think about what I'm going to do with this, and I'll pause it. I mean, you know, I'm just here, I haven't really done anything, you can see, but you can see, you know, this is a bit of a, it's a bit of a nightmare really. Just going to do my best, you know. I've got this swirl is going off the edge, this L is going off the edge, the D is going off the edge. I think I can get the twiddle on the G, alright. And then I've got all these symbols are poking up, which I'm not that worried about. I can get rid of that with the chamfer, or most of it. And then again, these things are all getting cut off, so I'm not going to do this all in one big swathe. I'm going to have to do this in 2 bits. But I actually think, I don't know, I mean, if I do this in 2 bits, what are we talking? We're going to have about 7.5 left. How can I work out this Z-Man? 6. I might be able to get the best part of 6 on that Z-Man. It's going to leave me quite a big 1.5 centimetre gap. 7. You never know, I might be able to get all those 3 things in there, but I think they're bigger than 5.2. You see, this is a really annoying one. Everything's just out by just a tiny little bit. Right, I'll pause it again. Right, so I've decided to do the same thing on this. This bit, I can't get the whole length in without it looking crap, so I'm going to just cut the El Grande bit out. So I've marked the length to try and, I've squared that end off, and I've marked the length to try and balance it. I'm going to cut it. Right, so I've cut that. Don't know how well I've done that, but c'est la vie. Now all I'm trying to do now is try and get this in the middle this way. Now because I've got these sticky bits up, all these are sticking up into it, I might have to make an allowance and not get these bang on in the middle of you know, of these lines, because really ideally you want them to sit slightly up from the middle, but if I did that I'm getting loads of mess at the bottom, so I'm going to have to do it so they're sitting down a bit. I can get rid of some of it on the chamfer, so I might just go with something like that. And so what I'm doing, I'm going to put a mark there. It's not very good, is it? Put a mark here. Right, and then we're going to do what we did on the last one. So now this one is 3 point, my eyes aren't good enough, 3.15. So I'm going to measure up 3.15 from here, my dotting, and then I'm going to cut that. And then once I've cut that, I'm going to measure up. There's a bit that I cut out already. It's gone. I'm pretty sure this was 5.2. That one 5.1. So once I've cut that line, I'll measure up here 5.15, and I'll cut along there, and I'll have my bit cut out. Right, I've cut that bit out. So, this is awful, this is awful, this is awful, and this is awful, but the rest is okay. I don't know what you're going to think of me after these videos. You're just going to think he's just making this box and it's just crap. Right, so that's going to sit on here, and I reckon on the end there, wherever it is, I reckon I might be able to get that Z-Man Games in there. Get Z-Man Games on there. That'll look alright. But there's still work I'm going to do on this now. Now, it will look better when I've chamfered it. You'll see that. But first, I'm going to try something. Now, I've got 2 blue pens. Now, I'm just going to spend the time talking about this. You know, this might take me 10 minutes, it might take me even longer, I don't know if it's worth it. These blue pens don't match up to this colour, quite. Let's find a bit. This is on a bit of dead bit. Right. Here, you can see it's darker. Right, that's the dark one, and the light one. The light one, you know, isn't quite right either. Now I could muck around and try and find a felt tip that's perfect. But what I find, so let's find an offcut. This is a real offcut. This bit. Now what I found. So where's my light? I've got any light there, you can't see, can you? Right, this fleur-de-lis. Right, what I found, if I colour that in with this pen, let's say I coloured it over like this, and why is, I don't know why the light's so bad there. Wish I had a torch. Right, you can see it's kind of dark. Oh, no, look, that's better. It's darker. Right, but on this next fleur-de-lis, what I'll do, I'm going to quickly colour this over, and then I'm just going to smear it. Right, and I might do that again. And then I'm going to smear it. Right, and it's not great. upon close inspection, not going to fool anybody. But it has hidden it. It has hidden it. You know, and I mean, I really was scrawling it on, but if I actually drew it on a bit more accurately, just leave it dry just a little bit, and then smear it. And smear it in. Smear it in a bit. Now, it's not great. I admit it's not great, and I admit I'm no master forger. Because really, I should go and find a pen that's the same, but you know, geez, I'm not going to do that for this. Yeah. I've mucked around, so it's getting the light on this is awkward. Can't see it at all. But the fact you can't see it at all, because you can see this fleur-de-lis. You can see this one, can't you? Look, there. Look, you can see that fleur-de-lis. Oh, look, it's focused. Look, you can see that one. Can't really see this one. Focus. So, I think I can hide some of this stuff, possibly. Now, it's going to be difficult, because I'm not just hiding it over a little bit of... I haven't done this before, you know, I'm just making this up. So, let's try and get rid of this bit here. And the fact it's over yellow isn't great, but I'm going to try and hide it a little bit. Get rid of it. You see, the fact it's on the yellow is not good. I might have to go over and over and over this and slowly stain it, because it's not... It's over yellow. Now, I mean, that's pretty obvious. But, that's less obvious, isn't it? Fleur-de-lis underneath it. I mean, you know, there's a big black line. Maybe I'll try and just go over the whole lot. You know, I'm playing a dangerous game here, I'm telling you. It's a really dangerous game. What if I put some of this on it? Try some of this blue as well. Let's mix up the blues. Let's double up the blues. And basically, just try and make a... I mean, if I had art training, I'd understand about colours. Maybe I could go over the yellow first with like a, you know, some other colour to give it a bit more of a base. Shouldn't have lit that, shouldn't I? But if now, I'm experimenting here. You're watching me, and this is going to make the video. I'm just going to put a couple of dots of black in there and see if I can blacken it up. Maybe make it a little bit wet. I think that was a good idea. No, it wasn't a good idea. So let's really rub it up. Back to the blue. I really hope this works. I thought it was such a good idea when I had it. Right, anyway, you don't want to watch me doing this, so I'm going to be going over and over and over and over it. I'll come back to you. Right. Now it's hardly invisible, but it looks a lot better, doesn't it? It's not invisible up close, it's bloody obvious up close. If the thing will focus, look, you can see on the top of the D here. You know, it's pretty bloody obvious. But of course it's obvious, it's me doing it. Someone who's more fussy could definitely do it better. But that looks a damn sight better than all those twiddly bits going off the edge. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to chamfer it. So, put my sandpaper. At 45 degrees, this is at 45 degrees. I'm chamfering all the edges. Probably do this one. Well, in fact, right, I'm doing that in the 240. Sorry, I'm going to do that in the 180. It's not good enough. Now, chamfering these turns something that looks pretty unsightly, really, into something that actually looks, I think, quite nice. Gives it a border. That's what it's all about, giving it a border. That's why it's nice cutting up these old boxes as opposed to going to a printer or something. Because you go to a printer, you don't get the thickness on the card. Now, I'll go beyond the camera. Now that's the one I haven't chamfered, and that's the one I have chamfered. Sure, it don't look that different, but believe me, in the flesh it does. Now, I was hoping the chamfers was going to get rid of these sticky up bits down here, but it hasn't, so I'm going to just try and blob them out. Seeing as how I'm getting a bit more confident at doing this. Blob them, and go just ever so slightly, because I'm only going on white there. It's not going on the yellow. The yellow is very strong to shine through. So there's just a white kind of halo around these bits. I'll just wipe that out. And the blue goes on much nicer onto that white. Okay. Now I'm not ecstatic about it. So what I'm going to do here now, right, that should be black. I'm going to black that line in there, because that then makes it look a bit more how it should be. And this is kind of, since I've been brushing it, I don't know how good these pens are. You see that the ink isn't very good, it's probably washed off, but from a distance you're not going to notice it. That's all I'm worried about. So I've chamfered that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same to all those. Well, I'm going to do the same to this one anyway. I'll chamfer this. Right, so I'm going to start working all this out, but this video is over an hour long, so I'm going to stop this and I'm going to do a second one because the video is getting too long. We'll do it in different parts. So see you in part B.